Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Dynamics Corner, the podcast where we dive deep into all things Microsoft Dynamics. Whether you're a seasoned expert or just starting your journey into the world of Dynamics 365, this is your place to gain insights, learn new tricks, and hear from industry experts. As GPT models have woven themselves into the fabric of our digital existence, including Business Central, quietly blurring the lines between human and machine creativity. I'm your co-host, Kris.
And this is Brad. This episode is recorded on February 4th and February 5th, 2024. Kris. I am still excited. I am still thrilled. My mind, as you had just indicated, is blown. Recently, we've had a big buzz about AI within the world, but then even take it into our own Business Central community. With us today, we had the opportunity to speak with Dmitry Katson, who created this wonderful CentralQ website that I can use now and ask it many questions about Business Central, and it gives me the answer. And I asked it one special question during the podcast.
What is it?
You have to listen to find out.
You gotta listen to it. That's in the future.
You have to listen to this. And not only did we talk about CentralQ, we talked about some amazing things. And I look forward to having Dmitry back on again.
I agree.
Kris.
Someone's at the door, man.
Someone's at the door. I wonder who it could be.
Oh, it's pretty late. Let's see. Who's coming by late tonight?
You have to go see who's at the door.
Someone's visiting us from the future, apparently. Maybe.
We have a history of doing this now, talking about the future. And
Hello.
Hello.
Dmitry, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good.
It's morning here, so just wake up and fresh. Nothing the same
good.
about you.
No, it's evening here, and we are
Yes.
behind you. We have a tendency now to speak to people in the future.
And that's true.
Yes, correct. Yeah, that's true. That's a unique opportunity to talk to someone from the future.
See, but now that answers a lot of questions that I have with you coming to us from the future. Did you know that?
Yeah, I'm glad to help you and to understand the future, what's coming.
Yes, and that's how you come up with a lot of answers. But before we jump into it, back in November of 2022 is when OpenAI introduced or released or made public their whole ChatGPT platform, I guess you could say. Before that time, I was working with the images with DALL-E 2, having a lot of fun. And then ChatGPT came around, and it was like the biggest hype. You know, I will admit, I still have a subscription to it. I pay every month. I don't know if I get my money's worth out of it, but I'm hoping that one day I will get something out of it.
You got to switch it now to Copilot now, because it's about the same price. It has the same stuff.
I think I will switch it to Copilot after this. And then I think it was 6 or 7 months ago, I saw this post somewhere. I don't know if it was on LinkedIn or it was on Twitter. I believe it was 6 or 7 months ago, maybe.
Yep.
That this new thing, CentralQ, popped into the universe.
Right.
I was all excited about it. It was in March of 2023. So about 5 months after ChatGPT and the AI large language model jumped onto the street, we were able to have one in the Business Central community. And with us today, we have Dmitry Katson. And you are the one that put together CentralQ. And I've been following and watching CentralQ ever since then. It's in the morning when I wake up, I have a folder. I right-click and open tabs, and it opens up a lot of things that I look at. And one of the tabs that opens up every morning is CentralQ.
That's nice. That's and it's a nice habit for everyone should be a good habit for
It is a
everyone
good
else.
habit.
It's a shortcut. Should be put in your shortcut.
Yeah.
It
Home,
is.
make it into your home web page.
And the whole thing is mind numbing, mind boggling. I don't even know how to phrase it to me. But before we talk about that, do you mind letting everybody know a little bit about yourself? Because you also have another interesting story about where you live that I heard before that when I was
Yeah.
talking and it came up. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So I'm Dmitry, and I'm also MVP for Business Central. And I started my journey in Business Central, or in those time division, in 2004. So it was a version 3.7. So I worked in many different areas, from the partner to the customer, and then organized my own company. Those time it was in St. Petersburg in Russia. And so I managed my own company for about 5 or 6 years. Then I sold it and became like a freelancer. And from 2017, I'm freelance. And so I will always was interested in NAV and in machine learning at those times, and AI. So I started my machine learning journey in 2016 on the company who I bought my company. It was a big partner, and they started the AI department and invited me to head this AI department. So I actually start learning all this stuff all these times. It was very exciting for me because I also love math and all these statistical things that the numbers can tell you something. It's all seems very magical. Yeah, and I love that. So I continued this journey when I left the company. Just learned more things for myself, and blogging about this, and talking at the conferences. I think the first time I talked about machine learning for Business Central was in 2018 in BC Tech Days. At those times, Microsoft first introduced the forecast in Business Central, or in NAV, I think those times yet. So, and then in 2020, we were traveling in South Asia with my family. We usually do that in winter time. So we usually spend like at least 2-3 months at summer during our winter. And then COVID
Smart
came.
choice, by the way. Smart choice.
Yes.
Nobody likes the
Yeah,
cold.
I was able to do that when I became a freelancer, by the way. That's a good thing to be. The benefit of being a freelancer is to work from anywhere. Yeah, my kids were relatively small, like 1 year and 3 years. So it's like no school. So it was a good time to spend summer in our winter. And then COVID came, and we were at this time in Thailand, and we were just stuck there. And
Oh
so,
wow!
so actually, airplanes just canceled, and we were in an island, no ferries, nothing. So we were just
Wow!
outside of the of the
That
mainland.
that that story, I heard you talk about that story before, and I can't imagine. Uh, we had conversations with other guests that were in the process of moving when COVID hit, but that's before they left. You were actually with your family on a vacation away from the wintertime, and then you got stuck in another country.
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine
With young kids.
how, with your two young kids, I couldn't, as Kris had mentioned, I could not imagine how that would feel or the thoughts that would go through your.
We actually were. So there was then after 1 month in Ireland, there were opportunity to came back to Russia uh, because our embassy they organized like airplanes for everyone who was stuck. But we talked with my wife and just decided to not leave for some period of time because like it was still winter there and with this COVID things, so we will sit in our flat with kids and the good thing for us in the island was that all tourists uh, were flying home. So there are less people here. And also because of that, the prices for villas, they really dropped down. So
Okay.
we got opportunity and rented a very nice villa on the seashore, and we actually lived about 3 months. We didn't see any person, and there was like a beach 1 kilometer there, 1 kilometer there. We were just working on this beach every day and didn't see
Wow,
anyone.
you got the whole island to yourself?
So it's not.
See, now, many people would take that. And I'm happy to hear
Yeah,
how this worked out for you, because many would take that situation and get stressed out or have, a lot of problems with it. You turned that into a great opportunity. And that was an
correct.
opportunity for
Yeah,
you to be with your family in another country, as you had mentioned, explore the island, see a different culture, and
yeah.
have a, coming from the cold of Russia, having a beachfront villa, and you could walk on the beach every day. That, now I'm jealous.
Yeah, so you always need to hear for your intuition. So what should you do? So it's not listen to anybody else and go into the crowd. Just listen to yourself. What should you do right now? I think
That's a
that
good
helped
way
a
to
lot.
live, and I
Yeah,
think that's important. I recently read a book and they talked a lot about that, and the book talked about listening to other people, because you're going to hear their story, their perspective, and they may not
yeah,
have the same situation as you, so they may give you a point of view or perspective that's different from you.
yeah. So actually, for everyone who will listen this podcast, and if you will be on my situation, maybe you will do another choice, and it will be good for you. So it's good for everyone to be on this time on this place and hear for yourself what should you do next.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very happy to hear that it worked out well for you, and I
Yeah.
believe you have nicer weather. And are you still on the beach?
No, we then moved to another villa. Yeah, we lived there for I think 9 months, I think, and
Oh,
then we
wow.
moved to another villa uh, because the tourists came back, the prices go up
Yes,
uh,
yes.
once again. Yeah, but we then decided just to stay here, at least for some years, because we got opportunity to um, study our kids in international school. So
Mm.
they grow up, so they now study English in the British school here, and their English level sometimes way better than mine. I love that, and because that will bring them more opportunities in the future,
No,
at
that's good.
least.
I'm very happy that that worked out, and I can't imagine. Did you leave all your house and your home in Russia, or did you go back and get everything and bring it with you, or?
We actually managed to organize everything remotely. So I organized moving all our stuff from the flat to temporary location, and then we I would say someone rent our flat there now.
I don't know what's more amazing, your story or CentralQ, because this is to me it sounds to be I'm happy that you made the decisions that you did. Like you said, they were right for you, and it seems to work out well for you. And you have some great opportunity. You've done some great things since you've been in Thailand.
Yeah, I don't know if CentralQ will appear if I still live in St. Petersburg nowadays. But yeah, it's when you live here, it's less distracting. You see less people. You can more focus on the things you love. So it's yeah. You have, of course, some personal obligations to children to school. Then you have some period of time to work. Then go to take children from school, and then spend your evening by riding around the island, because my son, he's doing like a boxing, my daughter, she's
great.
doing like a dancing, and this is in a different part of the island. And then,
So when do you work on CentralQ? When you're sleeping, or when you're?
no, it's everywhere, I would say. So while my son doing the boxing, I'm doing some stuff, and then doing the driver work, and then it's very
good.
mixed.
So speaking of CentralQ, you have made many improvements to it over the past several months since last March of 20. So it's still under a year that you've been using it. Have been working on it, and I see, last week at the time of this recording, or maybe a little bit before, you added the Power BI reports. You keep adding more sources. You added YouTube videos. You added a number of things. But let's go back to the beginning, if you can. What gave you the idea, or where did the idea of CentralQ come from?
The first time I saw the ChatGPT, so it was like in December 2022. I don't remember actually what I asked it for the first time. But it was some, I think everyone felt this wow moment.
Yes.
But after a while of playing with it, I started to ask him, it, the questions about Business Central, and I quickly figure out that in most of the cases, the answers are not correct. So it was very, very hallucinating on this Business Central stuff. Maybe because of it was trained until September 2021 on those times.
Yes, September 2021.
But even after, it's still very bad in answering Business Central queries if you ask something specific. So I was obsessed about that. And then I think in January, after the New Year holidays, I followed the Twitter, and I saw for the first time this demo about ask your PDF file. So there was the first demos about you can upload the PDF file, and then you can ask questions about your PDF file. And I quickly figure out that, okay, so like the pure ChatGPT cannot do that, but if you will show it something it can read and then ask the follow-up questions, it can be much better. And I thought, okay, if I will give him not one PDF file, but I will gather, the full community knowledge of the Business Central, it should be much better. I didn't know anything about how to do it, by the way, and just got an idea of that.
It's the best way to learn when you have an idea, and then you at least have something to learn and to move forward to.
Right. So the first thought I was, okay, maybe I can somehow train it if I will show it, different blocks or learn or something. But I found that it's like not possible to train it. The way how it works should be like you should, like in these PDF files, you should show him something, some text, it will read it, and then after that, you can ask the questions. And every time you should ask the questions, it should read it once again. So it doesn't have the memory, by the way. So you ask to answer any question, it should read information and then answer the question. And the limitation of this, readers was like 4,000 tokens. It was like about 8,000 words, something like that. So our community knowledge is much bigger.
Oh, it's much bigger.
Yeah. And then I found, but I thought, okay, this should be doable somehow. And then I found this method, which is called RAG. And it uses like a vector databases. So I need to create my like a search index first. I need to take all the knowledge, convert it to numbers, save it in this vector database, and then when anyone asks the question, when I want to ask a question about something, it should go first to this database, search for the relevant answer, or not the answer, but the sources where this answer potentially can be. Gather these sources, then show it to the ChatGPT. ChatGPT will read it and answer the question. And I thought, okay, that works. That should work.
That sounds so easy. Like, let's just index all these sites, have like some free form text that somebody writes, they spell things incorrectly. Yeah. I can't even imagine how you could design something like this. I understand what you're doing, but the actually putting it all together is...
You're right. So at those periods of time, there were no, information about how to do that, because now if you will search about how to do that, you will see many blogs or docs how to do that, and also the code demos and so on. But at this period of time, it was February, was nothing. I was, gathering information by pieces. Okay, I saw this tweet. Oh, this will help me. Okay, take it. I saw this tweet. Oh, this will help me here. And it took about 1 month, I think, to gather all pieces together. And I wanted to do like a simple UI design, a simple UI, how to do that for the users. And the problem was that I never did any web page by myself.
Did you do all the work?
How to do that.
Was this all done like just your spare time? Were you doing other things when you were building this? I mean, you said you were a consultant independent? Was this like kind of a
Yeah,
side
it was.
project?
Yeah, my wife in February and March was very unhappy, I would say, because
I can
because
imagine because
I had an idea. I wanted to do that right now, so I spent my free time there.
Ah,
I can
um,
only imagine. It sounds like you had to learn a lot of technologies. So
yeah,
you said you
so
never
it's from the
wrote a web
zero.
page.
I didn't know it was new for everyone, and I experimented many stuff because when you put together some pieces, you need to experiment if this work, if it not work, and in some cases it worked, in some cases it didn't work, because this making this index is also a big thing, because it's not just like a take this. You need to very smartly um, split even one block to different parts, because one block can be like more than 4,000 K, and
Yeah.
I potentially can have many blocks answering the same question, and I wanted to to have this experience when it took some piece from here, some piece from here, some piece from here, and make the one big answer. Um, and you very limited in this 4K window. It was quite a challenge, I would say, to uh, make it work all together. And also, for me, was the most complicated part was this web design thing. I was never done that, and uh, I would say that ChatGPT helped me here in 100%. So uh, this HTML thing, because the front end is the like HTML. I don't know anything about that, but about other um, ways how to do that. And I didn't want to spend much time, much money, to hire someone, because I didn't know if it will work. So I wanted to make a prototype by myself. The backend is done on Python, and I was familiar with the Python before. So, but I also studied a lot in this language after that. Yeah, and so it was released, I think, in the beginning of March. It was, I think, 9 of March or something. And if you will look, I have the telemetry of using that, and it was a hype for the first like 4 days, I think, and then dropped down very quickly. So I I found that sometimes the answer were not correct and something like that. So I had to rebuild everything once again
Wow.
to make it work better behind the scenes. And then the numbers of queries slightly went up for the last 7 months. So now it's us answering about 1,000 questions per day.
oh wow,
1,000 questions per
that's
day.
that's a
So
lot.
if I can
Yeah,
try to bring this back, you wrote Python to
yeah,
index various sources, Microsoft Learn,
yeah,
community blogs, and other articles. You take pieces of those blogs, convert them into an index somehow, like you said, a
yeah,
vector,
yeah.
and then somebody will search. You then put that against your index somehow. How do you know how to index it based upon what they enter? I mean, because if I write a question, because I've used it before to ask questions to see what comes up, and you could write a lengthy, like, how do I enter a sales price in Business Central?
Yeah.
Like, how would you be able to parse that to know what to go index? And then just to continue that, after you get the index of the sources, you then feed that over to ChatGPT or an AI engine to read the text and then generate the answer.
Yeah. So this
That's
the one.
amazing.
Yeah. So this find the relevant sources thing part of this. When you ask a question, I need to find the potential sources where the answer can be. This magic is done by these vector databases, and these vector databases doing this out of the box. They are so it's they use like a semantic search, not a classical search. So the classical search is when you look for the there should be keywords. So you ask something in your query should be a keyword, and the same keyword should be in the sources in some text. Then it will find this text and give you back, right? So it is like a Google works or classical Bing works or so. But semantic search works differently. When you, for example, search for the queen, it can also give you the sources with a text like a woman, because like a queen and a woman are very close to each other, and they're semantically close to each other. So it will also give you this text, but which actually potentially can answer the question about the queen, right? And this magic works with these vector databases, and this really helps with this answering stuff.
That is magic. So is that another product that you used, or did you develop that
Yeah.
yourself?
No.
It's a Python
I'm not
library.
there yet. No, it's I'm using the Quadrant. So it's the product which is called Quadrant. This is like a vector database oriented product where you can index stuff. So I put their numbers. So I take text, embed them into the numbers using the OpenAI endpoints, and then put these numbers to the vector. And then when you ask anything in CentralQ, I take this question, also convert it to the numbers, and send to the endpoint to this vector database, and it will find the relevant vector. Then I take back, convert everything back, and the answer.
That is amazing. And so when you parse the sources, do you parse the sources yourself too, or is that part
Yeah.
of this database? Do you go in
No,
and
it's all mine. So I wrote all the scripts that go every day through all the list of the all sources and take the text. It's a little bit complex there, but in general it checks all the blocks, all the learn every day. It just checks if it was changed since the last index. If it was changed, then it updates this vector database for me, and it does for YouTube, blogs, docs, on every daily basis. Before it was also with Twitter, by the way. But in June 2023, Elon Musk closed the previous API and introduced the new API for Twitter, which is cost $5,000 per month. So
that was a
yeah.
question I was going to ask, but I do look if I looked at CentralQ prior to us speaking, and it lists that you have about 38,500 sources
Yeah.
across the docs, the YouTube,
Yeah.
and the docs I'm assuming is Learn, and then the various blogs, and also now I think was in the past couple weeks you added app source apps, which is
Yes,
good.
correct. Absolutely.
I've used it to look for app source apps because I found the CentralQ search is much better than trying to search in the marketplace for an app.
100%.
So
That's
Much better.
true.
you have a great thing here for the community, and it's wonderful. Now, you had mentioned the Twitter API last summer when Elon Musk changed the policy on the Twitter API. You no longer could use it because it would be too costly. Or you no longer chose to use it because it would be costly, which it sounds valid. Is this expensive now? I mean, I'm not certain how this AI feature works within the ChatGPT, the Open AI network, or the Copilot network. Is it something that's a costly process to run and operate, or is it fairly inexpensive?
It's if I summarize everything now, it's about I think $300 per month.
So about
to run everything.
And that's about 1,000 questions per day. And how is the volume of that? Is it increasing as you keep adding additional sources?
I don't see it was increased since December, since I added. I think that when I see the number of questions every day rise, not depending on this number of sources, it depends on the number of features there. So when I added YouTube, more questions appear. When I added app source, more questions appear. So it's
I understand.
More because it can answer on more variety of questions.
So with YouTube, so now YouTube is audio and video. Learn and Learn and the blogs are text. App Source, I'm curious to know how you get all the apps out of App Source as well. I'd like to ask you about that. How do you index YouTube videos?
So for the YouTube videos, I use the YouTube API to get the transcripts.
I
So
had a feeling about that. I was like, oh, I wonder if he's pulling the transcript first and then you're indexing or put them in your database.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's I was really impressed how just indexing the transcript, because the transcript is not a block. It's not structured text. It's in the transcript you even can't understand who is talking. It's just a text. Right. And just taking this information, I was really impressed how better answers can be.
Interesting.
I'm still in shock at how all this works, to be honest with you. This is changing, the way that we can do things. And I will say a lot of, you hear a lot of individuals talk about AI, the use of AI, is it correct or is it incorrect, or, a number of conversations. And it goes back to, I think, even something you said before in a similar sense, with doing what's right for you. I think this is a tool to help you. It's not supposed to do everything for you, but if it can point you in the right direction or give you a bit of information to make it easier for you to look somewhere else, it's like a builder or a carpenter who has a tool belt. They use a hammer, they use a screwdriver. They use the tool that does the job for them. And I think the use of AI can really help.
That actually was one of the main points by adding the sources to the CentralQ, because I wanted not only to give the answer, but also to give the sources. So the user can just follow up, go into the blog and read it, see more information there, and so on. The fun thing that I checked my blog last week, I think. So it appeared that CentralQ is the third source of domain from where users go to my blog. So they first find some information in CentralQ, and then follow up in the blog, going directly from there. I thought, wow,
That's an interesting.
that's
Interesting
interesting.
statistics.
Yes.
That is. Do you limit the number of questions a person can ask in a day? Do you have any limitations that you put on CentralQ for a user based on where they're originating
Yes.
from?
Yeah. So there are 80 questions per month that user can ask. But according to my statistics, I saw that average user ask about 15 to 25 questions per month.
It's reasonable.
Okay, it's way
So
under.
if you
Yeah.
limit at
Yeah.
80, there's 15 to 25.
There
And
are
do you know
about 10. So there are now about 10,000 unique users. But to be honest, I will not call it a user because I don't have sign-in thing. So I, measure a user as a IP. So
okay.
like potentially one user can work from different
That
places.
makes sense.
Like for
So
me,
you're still having 10,000 unique users per month with
yeah.
an average of 20 questions per user. That's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Do you keep any statistics on the types of questions asked, or
Not yet. I want to do that, but now it's not possible to do that manually. So maybe I need to use AI to categorize the questions the user asks.
No, I think it would be interesting to see the
Yeah.
number of questions someone asks, maybe about a sales and receivables feature, or a
Right.
particular app source app, or something like that. And how are you indexing the app source apps? Are you how are you getting them from the marketplace?
When I first thought about indexing the app source app, I thought I can scrap it by usual way how I do that in the blogs, but I found out that it's not possible there. So I Googled how to do that, and I asked Microsoft team, and they really helped me. So there is an API for the market source offers. So I used this API to get the information about the apps that are published in the marketplace.
That's a nice collaboration with them. Yeah, that's awesome.
It's a great collaboration. I would assume that Microsoft would be supportive of this because it does help with Business Central. And another thing that I saw last week, I'm getting older, so my time is different here in my head. And you're
He's in the
I know that
future.
you're in the future, and this is where I know that this is where I thought you knew all this CentralQ stuff because you were in the future and you could put all this stuff together, tell us all in the past what you knew what I was going to ask, so you gave me the answer. But now I find that it's a little bit more. You also recently released a CentralQ app on App Source for Business Central.
Yes.
And what does that app do? And how can somebody use that app within their Business Central environment?
So the idea was, and I proved it with some statistics that I gathered, that the CentralQ web is 97% used by the partners, and like very little percent by the users. And I thought that it's not fair. We need to bring this magic to the users as well. Because in any way, what we're doing for the users, right? And I thought that's the first thing. The second thing, I got some requests, a number of requests during the last several months that we need to use like our documentation, like our documentation about how PTEs work, our documentation about how the processes in the Business Central works. Because if you think about this, the answer which CentralQ gives, it's about like some general Business Central. But in practice, we usually don't have like a Kronos, right? We have some unique implementation everywhere. Even if there are no PTEs, there are some app source apps. Even if there are no PTEs and app source apps, there are some scenarios, some areas that are configured, some areas that are not configured. And usually partners do user instructions, right? This user instructions can be in a text, or maybe they can be in a video that they can then bring to the users. What users are doing, well, they usually don't look at these instructions.
No, they don't.
No, they don't. What they are doing, if they have some question, they go to the partner. So the partner then search for the information in the CentralQ. How to do that? Or answer by himself, but it's wasting of time. So I thought that okay, users will not go to the CentralQ, I guess, because well they can, but somebody should teach them to do that, and it is outside of the Business Central, and anyway they don't have their instructions, right? So I thought, okay, there should be a custom CentralQ that should work for individual environment or individual company. So the partner, what they can do, they can take their instructions, which they usually have, or maybe write instructions if they don't have. And then inside of the Business Central, they can upload these instructions, these docs. They could be PDF files or Word documents or TXT files for now. And then create their own small index that I'm doing the big index for the Business Central knowledge, but they can do the little index just for their documentation. Okay, and but also if they don't have the answer in their documentation, my big CentralQ can help in this way.
This is great. I'm listening to this and I'm thinking like this was a wonderful idea to do, because so a user can, with your app that you have in Business Central for the CentralQ app, a user can upload documents of their processes. This is the intent. This is the use case for it.
Yes.
It would be indexed. And if the information's not found in their index, it will then go search CentralQ.
Yes.
And for clarification, if I am a user and I have documentation that I upload, where does it go? Where does it store it within my Business Central implementation? The documents
in the tenant.
So now it's stored in the separate vector database, which is not linked to the main vector database of the CentralQ, just to keep it private, because it's private. It has a separate channel to retrieve information. That's for the index. The files are stored in the Azure Blob storage, which is also private. So each individual file that is uploaded to the CentralQ chat app is encrypted and stored in the private blob storage. Even if you have URL, you can't open it. So so it works, inside of this app. But there is was a challenge for that, because if a user asks something that in their documentation, I wanted to provide the user, the source, the link to the file. But on the other hand, I wanted to make it very protected, so the user can't just take this URL and maybe send it somewhere, and then someone will blame CentralQ app that it's not very security. So what I'm doing, I'm generating the temporary time limit URLs, so which works only inside of the chat window. So when
It's very
user
smart.
asks anything, there is an answer, there is a sources, or there is a source to this PDF file. It can use this PDF file, upload it, see it. But next time he will use this URL, it will not work.
You thought of
It's very
everything with
smart.
this because that would be a concern for a user would be and that's what I hear now. When you hear some organizations, they don't want, you can use ChatGPT to rewrite articles or to do things, and it gets put into, for lack of better terms, a public space. So you eliminated that concern by ensuring that you have a separate storage area for each.
Yes.
Is it for each tenant, each environment? How is it separated?
It is separated by the. I do have this chat ID. Chat ID GUID.
Okay.
I will tell you what is that, because when I architected this, I thought, okay, we have like environments and we have companies, and potentially the same instructions can work for different companies, or even maybe the different environments. If they have like three environments with the same processes, I don't want people to do the same thing 3 times or for each company. So I create this index only once, and it's but the primary key is this like a chat ID, or maybe you can call it like a knowledge ID. So it's and you can then reuse this in different companies or in different environments. In the future, maybe I think about maybe customer can give this ID and a key, because it's like two things, like ID and a key to access this information to the partner, and maybe the partner can use another UI, not inside of their business central, but maybe in the CentralQ or somewhere else. I didn't think about where it can do, but the use case is that when user will send some support case to the partner can use CentralQ to answer how it works in their environment, not in like in the CentralQ, in the general business central.
So yeah, you're giving them access to their specific vector database from your specific tenant. Okay, that's pretty smart, because then it allows it to have a better support from a partner side along with the customer.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you could also take this to another level. That's from the customer side. I know that you did that because you wanted it into the customer's hands, but I can think of app source apps. If a partner could build their knowledge base in CentralQ, the app source app gets installed, it has that knowledge base key. Now, when the user is using the app, how do I do this?
FAQ.
The partner can manage the documentation for them to learn how to use the application. So that idea that you have, I think, can be used for many different levels, for many different uses.
And that's the use case that you are talking about. I'm just starting working on that already. So it's yeah. So but the thing is, and I'm asking every partner who will listen to this podcast to collaborate on this, because when I indexed the app source apps, what I'm indexing now is the information from the app source page. I also wanted to index, the instructions, how this app works really, because on the app source apps is like a general information about the app, what it can do, but there is no information how I, as a user, I can do that, how to install it, how to configure that, how to use the app. And now there are like 5,000 apps there. And I wanted first to do this in some kind of automatic way, to go through the links that are linked to the app source offer and grab information from there. But I found that in many cases, for many apps, there are no good documentation available online.
I chuckle because I don't think there's any good documentation offline either. I mean, I think documentation is one of those challenges for many.
And that is my limit, I cannot do more here.
No.
So what I'm thinking that maybe I should do some kind of portal. Maybe we can discuss how it should be doable for the partners, where they can link some kind of documentation for their apps. And
that's what I was thinking at, is that they could have some way that they could manage the documentation themselves instead of providing it to be indexed. Not to say that they wouldn't want someone to see it, but it may be easier to enter documentation into CentralQ for this conversation instead of creating all of these documentation links and pages.
Yeah.
Because just like Business Central changes monthly, many partners add features or fixes to their apps where I could see the benefit of if they add release notes. I could see they have instructions. They have a number of different pieces of information that they could put in there that may not be so structured from documents. If you could just have one, it's almost like a OneNote, I guess you could say, have a OneNote page where they could just put all that information. I mean, I think there's some ideas, but I could see that being a big use for partners with some of the larger add-ons as well, larger extensions. If you think of some of the popular big ones, it just makes it so much easier for them to implement. And I see my mind's running with this, and again, it's from the partner side, but even how to extend it. Like if you look at some of the other larger ISV applications, they have events available. They have a number of things available that could help the partners. And this is how you can extend it. I know these are just ideas. You have my mind going.
You solve quite a bit, because one of the things that people struggled on starting with ChatGPT is you get an answer, there's no reference, right? You solve that by, hey, we have references, right? Second, you solve it by reading other materials that are a lot more closer to better answers as well, and then using as a reference. And you added videos, transcript, and things like that. And then you're getting into the BC app source. I guess the question is like, what's next for CentralQ, which you sort of answered that, because then you want to give that option to ISVs and partners as well.
So I think the first thing that I want to make it work, that at least CentralQ app will pay for the CentralQ. That's the first thing. Then for the app, I want, because for now I see that still very little amount of people know about that. So, you know, and I see, and I think you see that it's at least valuable for the, can be
I
valuable
think
for
it's
the
very valuable.
end users.
Very.
I think it's very valuable. I think that your app is probably too new, that we have to
Yeah,
get the word out. I'll help publish it because
yeah,
I can see it being of some big benefit. Just like, ChatGPT, when it first came out, they keep adding features. CentralQ, you keep adding features. Look at Copilot, they keep adding features. I think you're in the infancy stage of it, which I think is still a
yeah.
huge value, but I can see that you can do so much more with it. And you're doing all this by yourself.
Yes, I'm doing this all by myself for now. I'm thinking maybe a bit of redesign the CentralQ, the web page. Maybe because I want to introduce also the history of search, because it's should be very useful. Uh, because I personally very struggle with that, because I use it by myself every day when working with something I don't know. But then I need to keep all the tabs open, and just to return back to this answer and to reuse it somewhere. So I want to introduce the history. All this, by the way, all these features, what I implement, I first implement, by myself.
Yeah.
It's
Because
But
impressive. Impressive.
yeah, because I use it by myself. Yeah, I feel that, well, I should have something here, so I develop this, and everyone is happy in the
no,
community as
it's
well.
we have so much information in the world today to us.
Yeah,
You talked about, and everything's changing so fast. So I even struggle with what you just said. I do some searching. We all do some searching. It's impossible to know everything. Or
yeah,
you'll say, I know this. Let me just look to make sure it's what I remember. Where do I put that information? So I try to use like OneNotes. I try to have, as
yeah,
we were talking before, bookmark web pages that I have in there. So to have some sort of way to be able to search. The next thing you need to do is put it into something that I could just put in my head. I don't even have to type. I could go,
Yeah. But here's a big benefit of this though, because a lot of us kind of research and you do Google, right? And then they give you so many options, so many answers. I think one of the biggest benefits of Central Q is that it allows you to have one single location where you can search for something instead of you having to skim through all the references. You just have to do one area you can go off of. And if you have additional questions, you have a choice to say, okay, I'm going to choose this reference first and check it out and to see if that's the correct answer. But I think you're making it easier, getting you out there for people to understand, especially newer generations of consultants coming to Business Central. Sweet, this is a
yeah,
sweet product that they
this
should be
this
using.
is, as you had stated, Kris, this is the new way of search. In my
Absolutely.
opinion, because again, it's the same thing. As I do a search on Google, Bing, or some of the other popular search engines, I have a list of things. I have to read the title to see what I want to go in and read. This gives me a summary from many sources. You list the sources, and to repeat what you said, Kris, then I can go jump to the individual sources that I want to read more information. To me, it's a much better experience because I want that quick answer first,
yeah.
and then I can
By
go
the
into
way,
this article.
by the way, like there are other options now, right? With this AI search, so we have like a Bing chat, and also like perplexity. But what I found, well, it was also in March, I think. I just published this, made CentralQ, and then after some weeks, the Bing chat appeared, which I thought will do the better job, because the architecture there is quite similar. But the thing is that Bing Chat uses the Bing search, and the Bing search is very general. It's not focused on the Business Central sources. And if you will ask, let's say, CentralQ, what is BC? It will answer you that BC is like a Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. And if you will ask I didn't ask ChatGPT, but I think Bing Chat or Perplexity, what is BC, it will answer that this is before Christ.
Or British Columbia.
Yeah, that's because it uses the top answer from the Google Bing. So
yeah,
and it's still, and the CentralQ is very focused on Business Central sources. So that's why it works better in some way. Sometimes Bing Chat also helps if I don't have like sources or so.
It's certainly a targeted audience, right? So I think that what makes it beautiful about it, because it's everyday or day-to-day things that, like, hey, I don't want to have to skim through the word business and get different returns, and so you could just do it within CentralQ. So you get a quicker answer. What Brad was saying, it's just quick responses and summary.
I do have to say one thing, that while we were talking, I have CentralQ open, and I asked it this question. You may see it in the question. And I wrote, what is the most popular podcast about Business Central? And the answer is this, and I will read it. The most popular podcast about Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central is the Dynamics Corner podcast. This podcast explores the world of Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central and related technologies. It is co-hosted by industry veterans Chris and Brad Prendergast, who provide valuable insights, practical tips, and expert advice on the latest trends, innovations, and best practices in Microsoft Dynamics 365 ecosystem. CentralQ is now my new best friend.
That's so funny, because I just did that, Brad. Well, we were having a conversation with, like, is there a podcast where all they talk about is Dynamics 365? And here we are, full circle. Dynamics Corner.
Yeah. By the way, I added your podcast in Friday, and it took the CentralQ about 7 minutes, I think, to watch. Let's say to
7
watch
minutes
to watch all your 57 videos, which are about, I don't know how many minutes are there. I do have statistics. By the way, I have a statistics that it watched about 90,000 minutes of Business Central content from the YouTube.
That's impressive.
90,000 minutes.
In 7 minutes.
That is impressive. But we had 7 minutes of fame there, Chris.
I know.
It's okay. No, I understand everything goes much faster, but I think you're doing a wonderful. I think you have a wonderful product here. I mean, I don't even know what to call it. You have the app and app source, which I think can be extremely valuable for both users and partners in ISVs. The CentralQ knowledge base is amazing, and I can only imagine where you're going to go with this now. I mean, I see it's almost like the application. You're adding things quicker, and it's faster. So I'm still impressed that you do this all by yourself.
It's very impressive for you to do all this by yourself. So, Dmitry, are you going to be in any of the conferences for this year?
Yes. So I will do. It's not like approved yet, but I submitted 2 sessions for the Directions Asia in Bangkok, which will be in May. And also I submitted the workshop about AI at this Directions Asia. So the workshop will be like a full day very focused on the toolkit, like that Microsoft introduced in November last year. So it's like Copilot toolkit for AL, where you can create your own this Copilot AI experience inside of the Business Central just with AL. So this will be a full day workshop, and also I can tell you we had a conversation last week with Microsoft about this workshop, and they will fully support this with the latest innovations that will come in wave 1 in April. Because I don't know what will be there. I just saw the list of the release notes. But when they will make this publicly available, they promised me to help with a workshop to, also bring this information to the audience. So it will be very new. Yeah.
I can't think of anyone else to give the workshop on this. I think you are the most appropriate member of the community to give this for all that you've done with it. And I think so. You'll have submitted sessions for Directions Asia to speak, but also offer a workshop on AI during the conference so that somebody could sign up
Yes.
to come attend the workshop to learn more about AI within Business Central.
The same thing for the BC Tech Days. So there will be a workshop. So there will be like 2 days of workshop, like the same workshop repeated for second day, just to make sure that more people can take opportunity to learn from that. And there will be, don't know will be or not, also submitted the session. They will submitted the session about the AL toolkit. But also, if this will be approved, also will share some knowledge about this RAC experience, how you can embed maybe your kind of knowledge for the toolkit to answer on your questions.
It's exciting.
Yeah, I don't even know where. I still have a whole list of questions.
I have a lot of questions, Dmitry.
that I want to know about this. I think I could spend all afternoon.
We'll
or
have to do a part
evening
2,
or
man,
morning with you
for this one.
Yeah, I think that we would definitely have to have you back on again because you keep adding to it, and to hear and to talk about some of the new features that you're adding, and I'm just impressed that with everything that you've done, and your wife and your family for their support as well too, because I know that you take a lot of time to do this, so it's very important. A lot of people don't realize that you also need a support from home sometimes to be able to do a lot of these great things, which makes it much easier. So
that's the first thing that we need.
Yes, so you please give your thanks to your wife because you're doing great things for a lot of people in the community who use this. And again, you see the thousands of people that are asking questions to the product you have each month, and now the app's out there. And I'd like everyone to use
10,000 unique people. Remember, it's a lot of people.
It's like, just 10,000. No, it's and again, it's a finite group of people too.
Yeah.
So it's not people like all in the world. It's Business Central specific people. So
yeah,
I don't know how many people there are for that, but thank you very much for your time. I hope to speak with you again, have you on again as well. Kris and I know Kris has a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions. Maybe have a part 2 from this. And we both appreciate your time and thank you for all that you do. But if anybody has any questions or they'd like some more information about you or some of the workshops that you may be presenting or some other great things that you're doing for the community, how would they best contact you to see and learn some of this great stuff?
I'm always available on Twitter and LinkedIn. Maybe you can add the links to the description of this video. Just there.
Yes. Yes, we will have Kris does a great job editing. He usually puts it on the video itself that pop up to see it, but it's always included in the show notes. And when you say you're always available, you are always available, because I don't care what time of day it is, he's always answering. Like, I could see at 2:30 in the morning a question, he's answering. Waiting another 8 hours.
Maybe he's using CentralQ to answer your questions.
Maybe he really is. Maybe he really is sleeping, and now he has.
He's living in the future.
Doing it for him.
Of course, he's gonna have someone else do it.
That's it.
AI do it.
So on Twitter, LinkedIn, CentralQ AI, CentralQ.ai is the website, if anyone hasn't used it. And on the website, there's links to the AppSource app, information for that, and some additional information on there as well about you, which you have an impressive background as well.
By the way, the last thing that I learned when I published my app to the AppSource is how to do a really good documentation for the app. And
full circle.
Yes, and I will also held an Areopa webinar. It's not announced yet, but I talked with Luke already. It will be, I think, in April. It will be a separate webinar about how to do the good documentation for the app.
That would be a great webinar. I know we've done some great things on that Areopa as well. And I did see your article, and thank you for it, about the code signing in 2024. I'm assuming you did that as part of your app submission. So when you do an app submission, a lot of members of the community don't realize sometimes it's not the app that's the difficult part. It's getting everything together to get the app in, which is it's a good thing to have, but it's important to know that there's a lot more to it than just putting an app together. You have to put a lot of work in behind it. And thank you for sharing the information that you do. And if you have that information, the webinar after you and Luke coordinate it, please share it. And we will be speaking with Luke as well soon in the future, and we'll ask him about that as well then too. But thank you again for your time. I really do appreciate it. We will have you back on hopefully soon. Maybe
we have to get you back.
we do have to. Maybe around the time that you have the workshop. Yeah, maybe around the time you have the workshop, if there's some new stuff, to talk about some of the things you're talking in the workshop, with some of the new stuff with the AI, with Copilot, with Business Central. So thank you again.
Thanks, Dmitry.
Thanks, thanks, Brad, for having me. It was a great conversation. I will have. Yeah.
I'm still grinning. It's just amazing. I wish I could do all of that stuff. Thank you again.
All right, thank you.
You can if you wish.
All right. Ciao.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kris, for your time for another episode of In the Dynamics Corner Chair. And thank you to our guests for participating.
Thank you, Brad, for your time. It is a wonderful episode of Dynamics Corner Chair. I would also like to thank our guests for joining us. Thank you for all of our listeners tuning in as well. You can find Brad at developerlife.com. That is DVLPRLIFE.com. And you can interact with them via Twitter, DVLPRLIFE. You can also find me at matalino.io, matalino.io. And my Twitter handle is matalino16. And you can see those links down below in the show notes. Again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, and take care.